It began as a faint signal, barely detectable against the endless background noise of the cosmos. On Earth, the scientists monitoring the universe for unusual patterns first noticed it as a strange, rhythmic pulse. At first it seemed like another natural phenomenon, a random burst of energy from a distant star, or perhaps a quirk of the monitoring equipment. But as the signal repeated itself, patterns emerged. It was deliberate. The rhythm, the structure, and the encoded information suggested intelligence. This was no natural occurrence. It was a message. The initial discovery sent ripples of excitement through the scientific community. Researchers, engineers, and astrophysicists began to analyze the data with heightened attention. Every pulse, every modulation, was scrutinized to determine its origin, meaning, and potential importance. As the signal was examined more closely, it became clear that it was not simply a series of random codes. It contained complex sequences, patterns that resembled advanced mathematics and logical structures. The content of the signal indicated urgency and distress. Using advanced decoding algorithms, Earth's teams began to translate the information. What they discovered was extraordinary. The signal was an SOS, a desperate call for help. The aliens had transmitted it across light years of space, hoping someone or something would receive it. The message was clear in its urgency. Their civilization was in danger, their survival at risk, and time was running out. The revelation of the SOS sent shockwaves through both the scientific community and world governments. This was humanity's first undeniable contact with an intelligent extraterrestrial species. It was a momentous discovery, a turning point in human history. Scientists and political leaders quickly gathered to assess the situation. The message was analyzed not just for its technical content, but also for its emotional tone. The aliens' distress was palpable, encoded within the structure of the message. Researchers noted hints of fear, urgency, and even desperation. It was a plea, not a threat, and that realization shaped the initial response. This was a species in genuine need, and humanity had the capability to respond. Debates erupted among the world's leaders. The situation was unprecedented. How should humanity respond? Some argued for caution, suggesting that any attempt to intervene could be dangerous. Others insisted that ignoring the call would be morally indefensible. Ethical, political, and strategic considerations were weighed. Could humans reach the aliens in time? Did Earth have the technology and resources to offer meaningful assistance? Could this be a trap or a manipulation attempt? Despite these questions, a growing consensus emerged. The SOS demanded a response. The aliens' survival was at stake, and humanity had the means to help. Parallel to these debates, teams of engineers, astronauts, and scientists began preliminary planning. They examined every possibility, from sending a small exploratory probe to deploying a larger fleet capable of providing substantial assistance. Simulations were run to estimate travel time, resource requirements, and potential risks. Scientists studied the alien communication system, trying to understand its technology, logic, and method of encoding. Every calculation was critical. Mistakes could mean the failure of the mission and the loss of an entire civilization. In laboratories and control rooms across the globe, humans worked tirelessly to ensure that when a decision was made, they would be ready. The aliens themselves were unaware of the ripple their SOS would create. From their perspective, sending the signal had been a last resort, a desperate gamble. They had assumed that the chances of it reaching another intelligent species were low. Perhaps only a minimal response might arrive, if any. They could not predict the scale, speed, or determination with which humans would respond. This element of surprise would become a defining moment later, but at this stage Earth had yet to act. For the aliens, every passing moment was critical. Their energy systems were failing, resources were dwindling, and the stability of their civilization was at risk. Every second counted, adding urgency to the signal they had sent years ago, which was now finally arriving in the hands of humanity as the world processed the discovery. Media and communication networks buzzed with speculation. The scientific community released carefully worded statements, confirming that a genuine extraterrestrial signal had been detected. Governments acknowledged the need for caution and preparation, emphasizing that all possible scenarios were being considered. Among ordinary people, reactions were a mixture of awe, fear, curiosity, and excitement. Some envisioned friendly beings needing help. Others imagined potential threats or unknowable intentions. The concept of intelligent life beyond Earth had shifted from theory and speculation to undeniable reality, sparking debates, wonder, and even anxiety on a global scale. In the control rooms where scientists monitored the signal, focus was intense. Teams analyzed every aspect of the SOS, from the frequency and modulation to the content of the encoded data. Patterns emerged that revealed not only the urgency of the crisis but also glimpses of alien culture and technology. The message contained diagrams of energy systems, structural schematics of cities, and instructions that hinted at highly advanced technical knowledge. Humans realized that they were looking at the technological blueprint of an entire civilization. The discovery was both thrilling and daunting. It was a window into a world that was completely unknown, yet strikingly sophisticated. Political leaders faced difficult decisions. Responding to the SOS was not just a technical challenge, it was a diplomatic and strategic one. They had to decide which nations would participate, how resources would be allocated, and how to maintain global unity during the unprecedented mission. Debates were long and heated. Concerns about trust, risk, and political leverage surfaced. Yet, amid these discussions, a shared understanding emerged. This was a unique opportunity for humanity to demonstrate courage, compassion, and intelligence on a universal scale. Ignoring the call was no longer an option. Humanity could rise to the occasion, or it could face the moral consequences of inaction. Meanwhile, in research labs around the world, teams worked on translation, decoding, and interpretation. They applied advanced algorithms, machine learning models, and human intuition to unravel the alien language. Every discovery brought new insights, clues about their biology, social structure, and environmental needs. Patterns in the SOS revealed that their civilization valued cooperation, sustainability, and precision. Humans could see the logic behind their systems, their methods of energy management, and their approach to problems. Even though their technology was unfamiliar, the underlying principles were understandable. This gave hope. If humans could reach them, they could help. As the analysis progressed, engineers and strategists began designing potential missions. Ideas ranged from sending unmanned probes to deploying fleets capable of carrying supplies, equipment, and personnel. Calculations included travel time, energy requirements, communication delays, and contingency plans. The logistical challenge was immense. Humans had to consider distance, speed, survival in space, and compatibility with alien technology. Every detail mattered, because failure could mean the loss of an entire civilization. Simulation exercises were conducted to test responses to potential scenarios. From equipment failure to miscommunication with the aliens, the goal was clear: prepare for every possibility while minimizing risk. Public anticipation grew. News of the discovery spread rapidly, with media outlets covering every development. People speculated about the aliens' appearance, intentions, and needs. Some were inspired, imagining a historic alliance between Earth and another civilization. Others were wary, warning that first contact could be dangerous or even catastrophic. Schools, universities, and research centers organized discussions and debates. Humanity collectively grappled with a new reality. Intelligent life existed beyond Earth, and it was now calling for help. The SOS was no longer a distant signal. It was a message that demanded a response, and the entire world felt the weight of that responsibility. As preparations continued, the sense of urgency intensified. Every passing moment brought the humans closer to a decision point. How would they respond? Sending help required coordination across nations, disciplines, and technologies. Engineers finalized fleet designs, scientists refined decoding methods, and political leaders set protocols for international collaboration. The urgency in the alien message created a sense of moral imperative. This was no longer about curiosity or exploration. It was about life, survival, and the ethical duty to act when capable. Humanity was about to step onto a stage it had never known, with the fate of an entire species in their hands. Humans had discovered a genuine SOS from an alien civilization in grave danger. The signal had traveled across space, carrying both technical information and emotional urgency. Earth's scientists, engineers, and political leaders faced the dual challenge of interpreting the message and preparing a response capable of saving a civilization. As the world reacted with awe, excitement, and caution, humanity began the historic journey of answering the call. What started as a faint signal had become a catalyst for interstellar cooperation, marking the first step in a mission that would test courage, ingenuity, and compassion on a cosmic scale. Humanity's response would not just define the fate of the aliens but also redefine what it meant to be a capable, compassionate species in the galaxy. After the SOS signal reached Earth, the first reaction among the world's top scientists and leaders was a mixture of amazement and worry. No one had ever received a message so clearly from an alien civilization. It was not just random noises or bursts of light in space. This was a carefully encoded distress call, a call for help that had traveled across unimaginable distances. The moment the signal was decoded, it became clear that the aliens were in serious danger. Their message conveyed urgency, fear, and a hint of desperation. They explained, in their own language translated by Earth's advanced decoding systems, that something catastrophic had happened on their planet. Their energy systems were failing, their cities were at risk, and if help did not arrive soon, countless lives would be lost. This was not a situation where humanity could hesitate. It was a race against time. In government halls and scientific laboratories around the world, urgent meetings were held. Leaders of the most powerful nations came together, realizing that this was not only a test of humanity's technological capabilities but also a test of its compassion. Could Earth respond to a civilization it had never met? Could nations that often disagreed work together for a purpose that went beyond politics or personal gain? The conclusion was unanimous. Earth had to act. The decision to respond to the SOS was made not lightly, but with determination. Earth had the technology, but it had never been used in this way before. The decision was made to send the fleet, but not just any fleet. It would combine the most advanced ships from different countries, ships built for exploration, defense, and even deep space research. The idea was simple. Humanity had to show that it could offer help, but also that it could protect itself if needed. Engineers and commanders worked day and night, preparing the ships for a long journey. Every ship was carefully inspected, upgraded, and tested to make sure it could survive the harsh conditions of deep space and assist in the alien emergency. Communication systems were enhanced to be compatible with the alien technology, and teams of scientists were chosen to travel with the fleet, ready to assist in any way possible. While all this was happening behind the scenes, news about Earth's response could not be contained for long. Reports started leaking to the media. Earth was sending a fleet to answer an alien SOS almost instantly. People around the world reacted in a mixture of awe and fear. Social media exploded with messages, videos, and debates. Some people celebrated the courage of humanity. They imagined the fleet soaring through space to save a civilization in trouble, and the idea of humans becoming heroes across the galaxy thrilled them. Others were skeptical, wondering whether it was safe to get involved. Could this be a trap? Was humanity ready to face beings whose intentions were completely unknown? Could this mission endanger life on Earth? Families discussed it at dinner tables, students debated it in classrooms, and scientists held conferences to reassure the public that every precaution was being taken. Amidst all this public excitement and tension, the fleet finally prepared to leave Earth. The ships were equipped not only to communicate and assist but also to defend themselves. Humanity did not want to make assumptions about the aliens' behavior. While the SOS seemed genuine, no one could predict what the aliens might do when the fleet arrived. Could they panic? Could they misinterpret human intentions? It was possible, and therefore, the fleet carried advanced defense systems, but always with a primary mission in mind: help and cooperation. Pilots, scientists, and engineers boarded the ships with a mixture of pride and nervous anticipation. Each member of the crew understood the historical significance of this mission. Humanity was reaching out across the stars, not for conquest, but for compassion. The journey would be long, taking months through cold and endless space, but they were ready. Meanwhile, back on the alien planet, the situation was just as tense, though in a completely different way. The aliens had been monitoring the approaching ships, watching them grow from tiny points of light in their sky to massive formations moving closer. They were confused and anxious. Their civilization had only hoped for a small help vessel, maybe one ship with basic supplies or advice. Instead, they saw an entire armada, a fleet of unimaginable scale, approaching at a speed they could barely comprehend. Their sensors detected the fleet's technology, its power, and its sheer numbers. They had not expected this. For the first time, the aliens questioned their assumptions about the universe. They wondered if humans were benevolent or if this show of force had a hidden meaning. Were these beings dangerous, or were they truly here to help? Inside the alien command centers, debates erupted among their leaders. Some were skeptical, insisting that such a large fleet could only mean a threat. Others argued that the SOS had been genuine and that this overwhelming response might be humanity's way of ensuring they could deliver aid without delay. But no one could deny that they were impressed. The scale, coordination, and speed of the human response were something the aliens had never seen before. Their people, terrified by the failing energy systems and the chaos spreading across their cities, now had to wait and hope that these strange visitors were indeed friends. That as the fleet journeyed through space, humans aboard the ships spent time preparing for every possible scenario. They studied the alien language further, practiced communication drills, and simulated technical interventions that might be needed once they arrived. Scientists discussed the alien planet's environment, potential hazards, and what could go wrong. Pilots trained for maneuvers in case the fleet had to avoid dangerous obstacles or cosmic phenomena. Every crew member understood the importance of staying calm, clear-headed, and ready for the unexpected. The vastness of space added a surreal sense of responsibility. They were venturing into the unknown not just for themselves, but for an entire species depending on their arrival. At the same time, humans back on Earth watched with bated breath. Live updates from the fleet's journey were broadcast, allowing ordinary people to follow every milestone. Children looked up at the night sky, imagining the fleet moving past stars and planets, getting closer to those who had cried for help across the void. Scientists continued their calculations, adjusting trajectories and monitoring for any unforeseen space phenomena that might endanger the mission. The sense of unity on Earth was unlike anything before. Humanity was collectively invested in reaching out, showing compassion, and proving that it could act as a responsible member of the cosmic community. Meanwhile, the aliens' confusion slowly mixed with growing hope. Their sensors detected the human ships approaching steadily and without aggression. The advanced technology, which initially seemed intimidating, now appeared to promise rescue and assistance. They could sense that humans were organized, disciplined, and capable, but also aware that communication would be critical. They began preparing to receive the fleet, ensuring that critical systems were stable. enough for human intervention, and that their people were ready to witness what could be a historic moment for both civilizations. By the time the fleet was within visual range, the anticipation had reached a climax on both sides. Humans marveled at the sheer alien landscapes they could now detect, while the aliens stared in disbelief at the massive human presence. This was a meeting that neither species had fully imagined in such scale. Both were on the edge of fear, curiosity, and hope, and as the first communications were sent to confirm intent and safety, the stage was set for the next phase, not just a rescue mission, but a chance for humanity to demonstrate courage, empathy, and the capability to act beyond its own world for the benefit of another species. The journey of the fleet, the tension among the aliens, and the worldwide excitement on Earth created a moment in history that would be remembered for generations. Humanity had answered a call from the stars, showing that when the need was great, it could rise to the occasion, even in the face of uncertainty. The aliens, who had feared abandonment or hostility, were now confronted with a response so extraordinary that it would forever change their understanding of intelligent life in the universe. Asterisk. As the Earth fleet drew closer to the alien system, the atmosphere on board was a mix of tension, excitement, and careful anticipation. Months of preparation had led to this moment, and now the fleet was about to make first contact with a civilization that had never seen humans before. On the bridge of each ship, commanders and pilots monitored every detail: the position of the alien planet, the speed of their approach, and the initial readings from the alien sensors. Scientists reviewed data on the planet's atmosphere, magnetic fields, and unusual energy fluctuations, preparing for any possible challenges. Each crew member knew the importance of caution. Even a small misstep could lead to misunderstanding, conflict, or worse. The mission was simple in purpose but extraordinarily delicate in execution. Their goal was to help, but they had to ensure that the aliens understood this clearly from the alien perspective. The sight of the human fleet was nothing short of astonishing. When the aliens first detected Earth's response, they had expected, at most, a single help vessel or a small reconnaissance craft. They had not anticipated the scale, sophistication, or speed of humanity's mobilization. Now, as they watched massive ships moving into their system with precision, a mixture of confusion, fear, and awe swept through their command centers. The sheer size of the fleet, combined with its advanced energy signatures, was unlike anything they had ever encountered. Their sensors detected multiple classes of ships, some clearly designed for exploration, others equipped with defensive or strategic capabilities. They had assumed a minimal response, so seeing the entire armada approaching was overwhelming. A sense of uncertainty filled the aliens' minds. Were these beings truly benevolent, or was there some hidden agenda? Yet, beneath the apprehension, a spark of hope flickered. They were, after all, in desperate need of assistance. On Earthside, the fleet maintained strict protocols for first contact. Communications were initiated cautiously, using a combination of universal mathematical symbols, light signals, and translations of the alien language derived from the SOS. These early messages were designed to establish intent without causing alarm. The fleet wanted the aliens to know that they came in peace and that their mission was purely humanitarian. The first few attempts at contact were tentative. Humans were careful to avoid overwhelming the aliens with too much information or appearing aggressive. On board the fleet, scientists monitored the responses eagerly. Every change in the alien transmissions, every signal received, was analyzed to gauge the aliens' emotional state and readiness to cooperate. The tension was palpable. One wrong signal could cause panic, and the consequences could be catastrophic. As initial communications continued, the aliens struggled to comprehend what was happening. Their species had evolved with certain expectations about interactions with others in the galaxy, none of which included a civilization answering a distress call with a full armada. The concept of such coordinated, large-scale assistance was entirely foreign to them. Some of their leaders argued that humans were too powerful to trust, while others insisted that the SOS had been genuine and that this unprecedented response was a sign of sincerity. Inside the alien cities, citizens observed the approaching fleet through their observation systems. There was a mixture of fear and curiosity. Some wondered if the humans were going to impose their will, while others hoped that this was the beginning of a friendship that could save them from catastrophe. The first real visual contact intensified the aliens' astonishment. Earth's fleet was not only massive but also organized in a formation that suggested intelligence, discipline, and careful planning. The ships moved as though they were parts of a single organism, adjusting positions to navigate the gravitational fields of the alien system. Alien scientists compared this to any fleet they had ever known, and they found nothing similar. They could see defensive shields glowing, communication relays extending like webs between ships, and specialized vessels hovering in orbit, ready to deploy aid. Each of these signs reinforced a realization. Humans were prepared for almost any scenario, but their intention appeared overwhelmingly peaceful. On board the Earth fleet, the crew prepared for the possibility that the aliens might respond with fear or hostility. Pilots rehearsed evasive maneuvers, engineers double-checked energy shields, and scientists prepared emergency communication protocols. Despite all precautions, there was a sense of optimism. For the first time in history, humanity had a chance to interact directly with an intelligent alien species, not as invaders or conquerors, but as helpers. This historical opportunity was not lost on anyone. Messages between ships reflected the mix of awe and careful caution felt by everyone aboard. Some noted the beauty of the alien planet from orbit, its sprawling cities, and unusual natural formations. Others focused on technical calculations, ensuring that the fleet could adjust its approach safely. As the fleet finally approached the outer atmosphere of the alien planet, direct communication began in earnest. The aliens transmitted questions, expressions of caution, and, in some cases, disbelief. The humans responded with calm, carefully structured messages explaining that they were there to help stabilize energy systems and assist with emergency repairs. They emphasized that there was no intention of interference beyond what was necessary to save lives. Both sides now entered a delicate dance of understanding. Humans had to balance speed with diplomacy, ensuring that every action reinforced their peaceful intent. The aliens, in turn, had to assess whether this display of overwhelming capability was a true sign of goodwill or a potential threat. The interaction between the fleet and the alien population revealed cultural differences that required patience and creativity to navigate. Aliens had a method of communication that was partly visual, partly emotional, and partly based on energy resonance. Humans had to adapt quickly, using specialized sensors and translation algorithms to bridge the gap. Misunderstandings occurred, as expected, when gestures or signals were interpreted differently than intended. A minor delay in responding to a question was interpreted as hesitation, causing temporary anxiety. Humans learned to adjust their tone, frequency, and method of communication to match alien expectations, while the aliens began to recognize patterns in human responses that indicated genuine concern and competence. As humans and aliens continued to interact, a cautious mutual respect began to form. The aliens could see that the humans' overwhelming response was not meant to intimidate, but rather to ensure that their mission could succeed without delay. The humans, observing the aliens' reactions, realized the importance of humility and patience in this encounter. Both species were experiencing a historical moment, the first real-time high-stakes interaction between civilizations from different worlds. The stakes were immense, because the alien survival depended on cooperation, and humanity's ability to navigate this unprecedented first contact would define its reputation in the galaxy. During these tense early interactions, both sides also began to exchange knowledge. Humans shared information about their technological capabilities, especially those relevant to energy stabilization and environmental adaptation. Aliens provided insights into their planet's unique energy grid, environmental hazards, and the systems that had failed, causing the initial distress. Though the aliens were initially skeptical about the humans' abilities, witnessing their methodical approach, adaptability, and problem-solving skills slowly began to change perceptions. Humans were able to explain complex concepts using visual aids, simulations, and energy modeling, making it easier for the aliens to understand that help was genuine and technically feasible. As the first contact phase progressed, both species faced the psychological challenges of interacting across a vast cultural and biological divide. Humans were amazed at the aliens' ingenuity, their advanced environmental adaptations, and their unique methods of communication. Aliens, in turn, marveled at the humans' organizational skills, willingness to mobilize quickly, and ability to work together on a massive scale despite coming from different nations with long histories of conflict. This mutual awe helped to reduce initial fear and suspicion. Gradually, the atmosphere shifted from one of confusion and anxiety to cautious curiosity, and finally to a tentative willingness to cooperate. By the end of this phase, humans and aliens had established a working framework for collaboration. Communication channels were open, initial misunderstandings were clarified, and the first steps toward assisting with the alien energy crisis were planned. Both sides recognized that while this was only the beginning, the foundation of trust had been laid. The aliens were still astonished by the scale of humanity's fleet and the determination it represented, but now they were starting to believe that Earth's response was not only extraordinary but also profoundly benevolent. Humans, meanwhile, were ready to move from careful observation to active intervention, confident that their mission was understood and welcomed. The moment was historic. Never before had two intelligent civilizations interacted in such a high-stakes real-time scenario, with the fate of one species hanging in the balance. Both humans and aliens were changed by the encounter. For humans, it was a confirmation of the power of empathy, planning, and cooperation. For the aliens, it was a revelation that there were species in the universe willing to act selflessly and on a scale previously unimaginable. First contact had been achieved, not through conflict or chance, but through deliberate, coordinated effort to understand, communicate, and assist. It marked the start of a relationship that could reshape both civilizations, futures, and the understanding of life in the galaxy. Once the humans and aliens had established communication and understood each other's intentions, the real work began. The alien planet was facing a crisis unlike anything humans had ever encountered. Their energy systems, which powered everything from transportation to city life to environmental controls, were failing at an alarming rate. Entire cities risked being plunged into darkness, life support systems were unstable, and infrastructure that had been relied on for generations was starting to collapse. Humans quickly realized that assisting the aliens would not be simple. Their technology was advanced, yes, but it was designed for human systems, not for the alien planet's entirely unique energy network. The challenge was enormous. Humans had to learn alien systems while working under extreme pressure, with lives hanging in the balance. Teams of human scientists and engineers were immediately deployed across the alien world. Some were stationed in orbit aboard the fleet's ships, coordinating satellite-based support and monitoring planetary conditions, while others were transported directly to the surface in specialized landing craft. The aliens, although initially apprehensive, began guiding the human teams to critical areas. They shared schematics, energy readings, and operational procedures, but even with this information, the humans found the alien technology difficult to understand. Every system operated on principles unfamiliar to human physics. Energy flows behaved differently, machinery responded in unexpected ways, and some devices seemed almost alive, responding dynamically to environmental changes. It was a test not just of technical skill, but of adaptability, patience, and problem-solving. At first, the work was chaotic. Human engineers tried to integrate their tools with alien machines, but small errors caused temporary failures or unexpected results. A device meant to stabilize an energy node would sometimes overload, requiring immediate manual intervention. Aliens watched nervously, unsure whether humans could succeed or would accidentally make things worse. In some cases, humans had to improvise solutions using limited resources, combining human technology with alien materials to create hybrid tools capable of functioning in the alien environment. This process was slow and painstaking, but the humans' determination never wavered. They understood that speed was essential, but precision and care were even more critical. Because one miscalculation could damage entire city grids or endanger lives. That's the teams worked. Cultural differences became more apparent. Aliens communicated in ways humans had to learn quickly through subtle energy pulses, changes in color patterns, and complex symbols that conveyed meaning far beyond simple words. Misunderstandings sometimes occurred. A gesture meant as guidance could be interpreted as criticism, and a human attempt to adjust a system could alarm the aliens. Despite these challenges, both sides made efforts to adapt. Humans studied alien communication patterns intensely, while aliens learned to interpret human intentions through observation and repeated interaction. Slowly but surely, trust grew. Aliens began to see that humans were not reckless or intrusive, but patient, careful, and genuinely committed to helping. Humans in turn admired the aliens' ingenuity, their understanding of natural energy systems, and the elegant complexity of their technology. The environmental conditions on the alien planet added another layer of difficulty. Some regions where energy systems were most damaged were located in harsh climates, with extreme temperatures, unpredictable storms, and terrain that was difficult to navigate. Human teams had to wear specialized suits for protection, while transport vehicles were modified to handle the unique atmospheric conditions. Even simple tasks, like setting up temporary energy stabilizers or accessing damaged nodes, required careful planning. Every decision had to consider the safety of both humans and aliens, as well as the delicate balance of the planetary energy grid. The work was exhausting, with long hours and little room for error. Yet the humans pressed on, fueled by a sense of duty and empathy. Meanwhile, the aliens themselves took an active role in the stabilization efforts. They guided humans through the most sensitive systems, explaining how each component functioned and why certain sequences were crucial. In some cases, alien experts worked alongside human engineers, their hands or energy manipulating appendages moving in coordination to repair or stabilize equipment. Watching humans adapt and contribute impressed the aliens deeply. They had never anticipated a species so different from their own demonstrating such skill, creativity, and perseverance. The initial fear and suspicion began to fade, replaced by respect and a sense of partnership. Despite their growing cooperation, moments of tension were inevitable. Small mistakes, miscommunications, or unexpected reactions from the alien systems sometimes caused temporary setbacks. A minor error in calibration could create a feedback loop, producing a surge that forced humans to evacuate the area until it could be safely managed. In these moments, the aliens' concern was visible. They feared that humans might not understand the severity of the situation. But each time, the humans quickly reassured their partners, explaining what had gone wrong, how it would be fixed, and what precautions were being taken to prevent recurrence. These situations, while stressful, ultimately strengthened the collaboration, as both sides learned from each challenge and adapted their methods. Over time, the humans began to understand the underlying principles of the alien energy systems. They noticed patterns in the way energy flowed, how nodes communicated, and how environmental factors influenced stability. Using this understanding, they developed strategies to stabilize critical systems efficiently. Some humans even suggested minor improvements that could prevent future failures. Carefully implemented with the aliens' approval, the aliens were amazed by the humans' ingenuity. They had not expected a species that had evolved under such different conditions to grasp their technology so quickly, much less offer constructive solutions. This realization deepened their trust and began to shift their perspective of humanity. From curious strangers to capable and reliable allies, the crisis also created unexpected opportunities for connection. Humans and aliens shared stories of their worlds, experiences, and challenges. Conversations, sometimes through translators, sometimes through energy signals, revealed shared values, the desire to protect life, to solve problems collaboratively, and to understand the universe. These exchanges, occurring amid the tense work of stabilization, fostered mutual respect and a sense of camaraderie. Crew members noted that even in moments of exhaustion, there was a profound sense of purpose and unity. Both species were united by a goal larger than themselves, saving a civilization from disaster. As the stabilization efforts progressed, visible changes began to occur on the alien planet. Energy nodes that had been unstable flickered to life. City lights returned, and transportation systems began operating again. The aliens observed these improvements with awe and gratitude. They were witnessing firsthand what humanity could achieve when driven by empathy and determination. The humans themselves felt a deep sense of accomplishment, not from technical success alone, but from knowing that their actions were making a real difference in the lives of an entire species. Humans and aliens had developed a seamless workflow. Teams were operating in coordinated patterns, combining human adaptability with alien expertise. Communication had become smoother, mistakes were fewer, and progress accelerated. The initial fear and tension that had dominated first contact were replaced with mutual respect, trust, and hope. The aliens began to see humans not as outsiders or threats, but as partners and allies, capable of extraordinary acts of cooperation and ingenuity. Humans, for their part, had grown to understand and appreciate the alien culture, technology, and resilience. They realized that saving this civilization required not only technical skill but also patience, empathy, and collaboration across species. Both humans and aliens came to a profound realization. The challenges they faced were immense, yet together they were overcoming them. The crisis had forced them to communicate, innovate, and rely on each other in ways that neither species had experienced before. What began as a mission of rescue had evolved into a partnership built on trust, respect, and shared purpose. The aliens were astonished by humanity's scale of commitment and willingness to take risks to help others. Humans, in turn, were inspired by the aliens' resilience, creativity, and willingness to work together despite profound differences. The energy systems of the alien planet were largely stabilized. Critical infrastructure had been repaired, life support systems were functioning reliably, and the cities were beginning to recover. Humanity's fleet remained in orbit, ready to provide ongoing support if needed. While human teams on the surface continued to fine-tune systems and share knowledge with the aliens, the partnership had moved beyond initial contact and emergency response. It had become a model of interstellar cooperation, a testament to what could be achieved when two civilizations approached challenges with mutual respect, understanding, and a shared commitment to life. Demonstrating such skill, creativity, and perseverance, the initial fear and suspicion began to fade, replaced by respect and a sense of partnership. Despite their growing cooperation, moments of tension were inevitable. Small mistakes, miscommunications, or unexpected reactions from the alien systems sometimes caused temporary setbacks. A minor error in calibration could create a feedback loop, producing a surge that forced humans to evacuate the area until it could be safely managed. In these moments, the aliens' concern was visible. They feared that humans might not understand the severity of the situation. But each time, the humans quickly reassured their partners, explaining what had gone wrong, how it would be fixed, and what precautions were being taken to prevent recurrence. These situations, while stressful, ultimately strengthened the collaboration. As both sides learned from each challenge and adapted their methods, over time, the humans began to understand the underlying principles of the alien energy systems. They noticed patterns in the way energy flowed, how nodes communicated, and how environmental factors influenced stability. Using this understanding, they developed strategies to stabilize critical systems efficiently. Some humans even suggested minor improvements that could prevent future failures. Carefully implemented with the aliens' approval, the aliens were amazed by the humans' ingenuity. They had not expected a species that had evolved under such different conditions to grasp their technology so quickly, much less offer constructive solutions. This realization deepened their trust and began to shift their perspective of humanity. From curious strangers to capable and reliable allies, the crisis also created unexpected opportunities for connection. Humans and aliens shared stories of their worlds, experiences, and challenges. Conversations, sometimes through translators, sometimes through energy signals, revealed shared values, the desire to protect life, to solve problems collaboratively, and to understand the universe. These exchanges, occurring amid the tense work of stabilization, fostered mutual respect and a sense of camaraderie. Crew members noted that even in moments of exhaustion, there was a profound sense of purpose and unity. Both species were united by a goal larger than themselves, saving a civilization from disaster. As the stabilization efforts progressed, visible changes began to occur on the alien planet. Energy nodes that had been unstable flickered to life, city lights returned, and transportation systems began operating again. The aliens observed these improvements with awe and gratitude. They were witnessing firsthand what humanity could achieve when driven by empathy and determination. The humans themselves felt a deep sense of accomplishment, not from technical success alone, but from knowing that their actions were making a real difference in the lives of an entire species. Humans and aliens had developed a seamless workflow. Teams were operating in coordinated patterns, combining human adaptability with alien expertise. Communication had become smoother, mistakes were fewer, and progress accelerated. The initial fear and tension that had dominated first contact were replaced with mutual respect, trust, and hope. The aliens began to see humans not as outsiders or threats, but as partners and allies, capable of extraordinary acts of cooperation and ingenuity. Humans, for their part, had grown to understand and appreciate the alien culture, technology, and resilience. They realized that saving this civilization required not only technical skill but also patience, empathy, and collaboration across species. Both humans and aliens came to a profound realization. The challenges they faced were immense, yet together they were overcoming them. The crisis had forced them to communicate, innovate, and rely on each other in ways that neither species had experienced before. What began as a mission of rescue had evolved into a partnership built on trust, respect, and shared purpose. The aliens were astonished by humanity's scale of commitment and willingness to take risks to help others. Humans, in turn, were inspired by the aliens' resilience, creativity, and willingness to work together despite profound differences. The energy systems of the alien planet were largely stabilized. Critical infrastructure had been repaired. Life support systems were functioning reliably, and the cities were beginning to recover. Humanity's fleet remained in orbit, ready to provide ongoing support if needed, while human teams on the surface continued to fine-tune systems and share knowledge with the aliens. The partnership had moved beyond initial contact and emergency response. It had become a model of interstellar cooperation, a testament to what could be achieved when two civilizations approached challenges with mutual respect, understanding, and a shared commitment to life. Highlighted more than technical problem-solving, it illustrated the power of collaboration, trust, and determination. Humans had not only stabilized a civilization on the brink of collapse, but had also forged bonds that would influence the future of both species. For the aliens, humanity was no longer a distant, unknown force. They had become trusted allies, capable of remarkable deeds. For humans, the experience was transformative, showing that empathy, courage, and ingenuity could bridge the vast distances and even the vast differences between worlds. After days and weeks of intense work alongside the aliens, the humans finally began to see the fruits of their labor. The alien energy systems, which had been unstable and failing, were now functioning reliably. Cities that had been dark and silent were once again illuminated with light. Transportation networks hummed steadily, and environmental controls maintained safe and comfortable conditions across the planet. The alien civilization, which had been on the edge of despair, could now breathe a little easier, knowing that their survival was no longer threatened. Humanity's fleet and teams had not only stabilized critical infrastructure, but they had done so in a way that demonstrated careful planning, ingenuity, and determination. The aliens were astonished. Their expectations had been modest. They had hoped for minimal assistance, maybe a single ship or a small technical team. Instead, they had received an entire fleet, equipped with advanced technology, capable of handling every challenge the crisis had presented. They were not just grateful, they were shocked by the scale, efficiency, and humanity of the response. The aliens began to see humans in an entirely new light. They realized that humanity was not only capable of advanced technological solutions but also of empathy and foresight. The fact that humans had come such a long distance, mobilizing so many resources, demonstrated something beyond mere technical ability. It showed commitment, compassion, and courage. For the aliens, this revelation was transformative. They had never encountered a species willing to devote such effort to a civilization they had never met. This moment marked the beginning of a profound shift in how the aliens perceived the universe and the potential of interstellar cooperation. Humans had exceeded every expectation, not through force, but through care and collaboration. On the human side, the crew and scientists reflected on what they had accomplished. Months of preparation, travel, and adaptation had led to this moment of success. They had faced a challenge unlike any before: systems that operated on principles entirely unfamiliar, unpredictable environmental hazards, and cultural differences that could have led to misunderstandings. Yet, through patience, creativity, and determination, they had achieved what had initially seemed impossible. The humans realized that the mission was not only a technical success but also a milestone in history. For the first time, humanity had truly demonstrated its ability to act selflessly, across the vast distances of space, to save another civilization. It was a moment of pride, but also of humility. They had learned much from the aliens' new ways of understanding energy, problem solving, and even the importance of trust and patience in collaboration. As the humans and aliens worked together, a deep respect had formed between the two species. The aliens were eager to learn from the humans, fascinated by their ingenuity, coordination, and problem-solving skills. Humans, meanwhile, had grown to admire the aliens' resilience, adaptability, and mastery of their unique technology. What had started as a rescue mission had evolved into a relationship based on mutual understanding and appreciation. The humans were no longer outsiders, they were partners, and the aliens, who had once feared for their survival, now trusted the humans and recognized their potential as allies in future endeavors. With the energy crisis stabilized, attention turned to long-term collaboration. Humans began sharing knowledge and techniques that could help the aliens maintain and improve their systems, reducing the likelihood of future failures. They provided insights into backup strategies, monitoring techniques, and emergency protocols. In turn, the aliens shared their understanding of sustainable energy sources, environmental balance, and methods for integrating natural systems with technology. Both species discovered that they could learn from each other, creating a partnership that extended beyond the immediate emergency. For the humans, this was a unique opportunity to gain insights that could transform Earth's own technological and environmental strategies. For the aliens, it was a chance to improve their infrastructure while strengthening interstellar relations. The aliens openly expressed their amazement and gratitude. They could hardly believe the level of commitment humanity had shown, from the smallest details, such as careful planning for environmental impact, to the massive mobilization of fleets and personnel. Humans had demonstrated a level of organization and foresight that was both humbling and inspiring. Leaders of the alien civilization sent messages of thanks that were formal, emotional, and filled with respect. Their citizens, who had watched the efforts unfold, were equally impressed. For many of them, this was the first time they had seen beings from another world act purely for altruistic purposes. The shock and awe were profound, and the perception of humans as capable, compassionate, and reliable allies became universal among the alien population. The process of collaboration also highlighted the power of communication. Both species had faced significant barriers at first: differences in language, culture, and even perception of reality. Yet, through patience, observation, and adaptation, they had developed methods to work together seamlessly. Humans learned to interpret subtle energy signals, color changes, and gestures, while aliens adapted to understand human intent and methodology. Over time, these efforts built not just operational effectiveness, but trust. Each successful repair, each stabilized energy node, reinforced the idea that humans could be relied upon, not as outsiders imposing their ways, but as partners willing to listen, learn, and act. Collaboratively. As the crisis drew to a close, the aliens began to rethink their understanding of interstellar life. They had assumed that the universe was vast, cold, and indifferent, and that any interaction with other species would be cautious, limited, or competitive. The humans had completely upended that assumption. Their arrival had demonstrated that cooperation across species was possible, even in extreme circumstances. This realization had a ripple effect. Aliens began discussing the potential for future collaboration, trade, shared technology, and even cultural exchange. Humanity had not only saved lives, they had expanded the horizons of what the aliens believed possible for their civilization and its place in the galaxy. For the human crews, the final stages of the mission were bittersweet. There was pride in their accomplishments, excitement about the relationships they had built, and a sense of historical significance. But there was also the knowledge that they would soon leave the alien world. Returning to Earth after having shared an extraordinary experience, they had been witnesses to a civilization's struggle and participants in its recovery. The lessons learned, technical, cultural, and emotional, would influence humanity for generations. The success of the mission reaffirmed their belief that empathy, careful planning, and collaboration could overcome the most daunting challenges, even across the vastness of space. As preparations for departure began, the aliens organized ceremonies of thanks and recognition. There were displays of their own technology, demonstrations of their culture, and heartfelt messages expressing admiration for humanity's courage and compassion. Aliens of all ages participated, eager to honor the species that had risked so much to save them. Humans, in return, expressed gratitude for the trust, guidance, and collaboration they had received. The exchanges were not just symbolic, they reflected a true bond forged under extreme circumstances, a bond that would continue long after the humans returned home. The fleet finally prepared to leave orbit, but the connection between the two species did not end. Communication channels remained open, allowing for continued technical support, cultural exchange, and the possibility of future collaboration. The aliens had been forever changed by the humans' response. They now saw Earth not as a distant planet, but as a source of hope, intelligence, and compassion in the galaxy. The humans had not only met a crisis, they had exceeded expectations, reshaping perceptions of what could be achieved through cooperation, empathy, and determination. As the fleet traveled back to Earth, news of the mission began to filter back to humanity. People around the world celebrated the success, inspired by the courage, intelligence, and empathy displayed by the fleet and its crews. Governments, scientists, and ordinary citizens marveled at what had been achieved. A civilization had been saved, lives had been preserved, and the universe had witnessed the arrival of humanity as a capable and compassionate species. The story of this mission would be remembered for generations, a testament to what could be achieved when fear was replaced by action, suspicion by trust, and hesitation by courage. Finally, the human crews reflected on the lessons of the mission. They had learned that technical skill alone was not enough. Patience, empathy, communication, and adaptability were equally vital. They had seen firsthand the power of cooperation across vast differences, and the impact of decisive, compassionate action. For the aliens, the humans had set a new standard for interaction between civilizations, an example that would inspire and guide them for the years to come. The success of this mission marked not only the resolution of a crisis but the beginning of a new era of interstellar partnership, mutual respect, and shared exploration. The aliens were not just survivors, they were inspired, grateful, and eager to engage with humanity in ways they had never imagined. The humans had left a lasting impression, one that would resonate across the galaxy. The SOS that had traveled across the stars had brought about something far greater than a rescue. It had created a bond between two intelligent species, a bond built on trust, compassion, and the shared desire to protect and improve life. Humanity's fleet returned to Earth as heroes, having demonstrated that even across the vast distances of space, empathy, courage, and determination could change the course of an entire civilization.